Good evening, I'm Sarah Shookman.
And I'm Russ Mitchell. Just north of where the 2018 Olympic Games are being held is the most fortified border on the planet, the line dividing North and South Korea.
It was established after the Korean War in 1953. With a military escort, our Will Ewick traveled to the demilitarized zone that separates these two countries. He joins us live in Pyeongchang tonight.
South Korea Today is brought to you by your Northern Ohio Honda dealers.
Russ, Sarah, good evening to you. Truly an eye-opening experience. We were briefed on the entire history of the DMZ before we went in. That's a place that still has about 2 million landmines, and it's actually the perfect symbol for how things are there with tensions, because although they seem calm at the time, you know that any wrong step could have gruesome consequences.
This is still a very volatile area. We're within range of artillery as well as a huge nuclear threat.
It's a line that's divided countries and families for 65 years. A place established by war and protected by fear. The demilitarized zone is a buffer, 2.5 miles wide and 160 miles long. And although the zone is demilitarized, beyond, it's the most fortified border in the world. Heavily guarded on both sides with armed soldiers on patrol. Under military escort, we enter the joint security area, the only portion of the DMZ where North and South Koreans stare face to face, always wearing sunglasses, because in the past, even an unintended glance has caused conflict. Directly on the border is the Military Armistice Commission, where the North and South still hold talks, a table splitting the room and the two countries.
That side is North Korea, and this side is Republic of Korea.
Now going into the tree line here, you will notice another KPA guard post. At this point, you are under machine gun fire and very close observation by North Korea. Once again, there will be absolutely zero pointing, waving, or gesturing verbally or non-verbally towards North Korea.
We're currently surrounded 360 degrees by North Korea, machine guns pointing at us. You can see over to my right the giant flag where they blast propaganda music sometimes 24 hours a day. That's known as Gyeongdong. What they call it here is Propaganda Village, because they say that the buildings, windows, and doors, they're actually fake and painted on.
Hands down the most volatile area in the joint security area that you are standing at now, and they can hear what you're saying at this point.
This is a view very few people get to see, the seemingly serene terrain in a place of high tension, watched day and night by two countries on edge, and the bridge of no return, where nearly 96,000 prisoners of war were exchanged at the end of the Korean War, a war that may have actually never ended.
I think just the fact that we are so close to one of the most threatening countries, communist countries in the world right now, that's what makes it the most dangerous part of this.
The tension between North and South Korea really ebbs and flows depending on the day. Right now, it seems to be at a little bit of an easement because of all the Olympic action that's going on. The two marched actually under one flag at the opening ceremonies and combined to join a joint women's hockey team. So because it was so calm, probably one of the reasons that we were able to get that escorted tour of the demilitarized zone. But really an eye-opening experience, Russ and Sarah, and one that I surely will never forget.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing it to us. And surprisingly, you also tell us that tourists can go to the DMZ, but they can only get so far. What is that really like?
Yeah, and it's interesting because they almost have it set up like an amusement park at that point where you can tourists can get to the spot that kind of has a little bit of a lookout tower, some souvenirs where you can get magnets and hats that say the DMZ. There's also a train there that by folklore is the last train to make it across the border, and you could see all the bullet holes that are on that train. But it's almost, they seem to have kind of tents and food stands. They kind of treat it as a gimmick there, but that's the last point that you can get to if you're just someone around here trying to get as close as you can. Once you get past that, you need to go through the armed barricade and have the military escort, which actually takes you a good bit up further. You go through a fort where we had to get the briefing, and then from there on up even further. So it's really interesting to see how it's kind of treated two different ways depending on where you are near that border.
Well, fascinating piece. Thanks for showing us a part of the world that so few get to see. And we'll see you in just a few hours for Channel 3 News Today.
Yeah, thank you.